Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 291 of Lave Radio, the show that talks about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that's... I'm your host, who's choking on popcorn at the moment, Commander Phoenix of Fire, and joining in the orange sidewinded bar for this... What?
Yeah, you're not kidding anyone that it's popcorn you're choking on, mate.
God, turn into
yeah, surely popcorn, when you choke on popcorn, anyone that's eaten popcorn in their life knows that the noise you make is this.
I think it's kale.
Wait, you mean like this? Does that improve your... does that give you some...
hear anything. No.
Huh, right,
No,
fine.
I didn't hear anything there.
Well, on this May the 5th, or Revenge of the 5th, or whatever you want, I'm Daft Ada, and joining me in the Orange Side Road bar for this episode, we have our Head of Health and Safety, Commander Ben Moss Woodward, otherwise known as Edelweiss.
Hey up, Colin. I can't think of anything. I was expecting you to give a Darth name for me.
Darth
No,
Ben.
I just, after that I just can't be bothered wasting my time now.
We can finish now and just stop.
Well, if you want to, Ben, bye.
Awesome. Bye.
We have our Chief Bar Steward on sound, Grant Psychocar Will.
Hello.
I feel like Neil from The Young One. We have our Human Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
And joining us as guests and replacement hosts for the evening, we have him of the buckyball expertise, Commander Alec Turner.
Hello, everyone. I've done my homework. Darth Quarantino.
I think Alec needs to be Darth Spider-Man or something like that, I think. Yeah, and that's spoilers for later on.
So our guests, are they like the inflatable crew in Airplane?
Well, it's funny
We
you
all
should
know
mention...
Alec likes not Alec. Mac likes a good boy.
Yes, and we've also, as another inflatable crew member, we have Mack Winston here.
Hello.
As well.
Hello.
Although I got no idea what the background, which I do apologise for. So, yes, I'll just quickly go around, see how everybody has been for the last a week or so. If you wish, though, you can join us live. We are hanging out in game some outside Lave Station. If you can't get to us in game, you can also join the Twitch chat channel, which you can access through laveradio.com/live. Click on the live chat and then go to Twitch TV, Lave Radio. So we'll start off with our guests because it's polite that they go first. Commander Alec Turner, how have you and what have you been up to?
Hello. What have I been doing this week? In-game, I have been scanning for signs of life, but we'll get on to that later maybe. I've also been on a second playthrough of Half-Life Alyx, which is just phenomenal and the best VR game ever made. And Valve up to their usual standard a mile above everybody else. I installed EDDI for the first time today, which is fun, and I managed to talk myself out of buying a lovely new gaming headset.
EDDI, Elite Dangerous Detector Inspector.
I don't know what it stands for. The thing that tells you lots of things as you're flying around, that talks to you all the time, and plugs into basically every API going. It's very good.
Yeah,
Is that the thing you were telling to shut up earlier, Grant?
I basically installed it because I just cannot remember for the life of me the position of the landing pads, and one of the things it does is tell you that it's at the back 2 o'clock and that kind of thing. Oh, don't tell the buckyballers. That's probably cheating.
It seems that you've picked up a fan on the chat room already. So
chat room. Let me guess. Is it Kaizen?
It is, surprisingly enough. Him of Hillbilly Redneck Radio.
Hello, Kaizen. My number one fan. How are you?
Is he your stalker? or have you got many stalkers?
I don't think I should say any more. because I incriminate myself.
Oh, right. Basically, court injunctions are in progress. Right. Also joining
I
us
said it
as...
before,
Oh,
and
hang
I'll
on.
say it again. Kai Zen is far too pretty for a Marine.
Oh, dear. It's definitely the Stalker's round circle tonight, isn't it? We've got one stalk in the other, and we've got a stalker from here stalking him. Anyway, Mack Winston. You stalking anybody by any chance?
I'm not stalking anyone right now. No. It's just anyway. My week, yes. The Eastern Promise expedition has started, which was the follow-on from Orion, and so we got started out. We did it was Waypoint 2 last Sunday. We're on our way to Waypoint 3. We're eventually heading out to, I don't remember what the system's called, but it's like the Eastern Meridian or something. It's like the galaxy's eastern equivalent of Beagle Point. You sort of get onto the edge of the galaxy and look out into the void and try not to go space mad. That's on my alt account. On my main, I've been mining void opals because, believe it or not, I'm not rich enough yet for a fleet carrier. So that's what I've been up to. And while I've been doing that, I've been listening to this on BBC Sounds. There's a really good series. I only got 3 episodes in. I was listening to it last night because I tend to listen to these things while mining. It's called something like Tunnel 39. It's about people escaping from East Germany, and it's pretty good. So I heartily recommend that if you want a podcast to listen to while exploring or mining. That's a good one. It's on BBC Sounds.
So basically, it's another podcast about digging.
Yes, indeed. So
Quite really.
There's a lot of good podcasts coming out from BBC Sounds at the moment, actually, because you're recommending this one. I've been recommending the 13 Hours to the Moon one, all about the Apollo stuff. And then there's also This Game Saved My Life, which we'll be coming into earlier as well, in a bit, sorry. So there's a lot of good stuff those guys are making over there, actually.
Yeah.
This episode of Lave Radio is sponsored by the BBC.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just showing them how to do it properly. Right. Cow, it's nice to have you back. What you been up to?
Hello. Me, crikey, what haven't I been up to?
Obviously singing Silent Night. We'll move on to Shan for the moment.
I wasn't singing Silent Night. I was just, I just forgot to press the wee button that unmutes me to you. Everyone else.
Hold on, get us out of our suspense about the bathroom.
Well, it's still
Is
there.
your bathroom still in lockdown?
Yes, it's not locked down. It's still in perfect working order at the current moment. If working order means that there's not a shower, but there is a toilet that flushes, and we put the sink in, which is looking lovely, and has made a huge difference to Susie's existence. So she's chuffed that she can get in there and wash her hands on a whim and get a good wash. So she's happy.
Does this mean that King Hanky can wash his hands too?
Whether or not Hanky has the ability is a factor that none of us have yet quite worked out. I believe scientists are looking into that. It's kind of low on their list of priorities, though. But they are.
I hope you're singing "Happy Birthday" twice when you wash your hands.
Oh God. Well, I don't mind that.
It's the about royalties about Happy Birthday.
A bit sore on the old bum.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because my bathroom's been delayed because of the lockdown. That's exactly what it is, Kaizen. So it's not my fault. It's all been COVID-19. No, seriously.
Yes, that seems to be blamed for a lot at the moment. So
just add it to the list. What have I been up to? We obviously we had our pub quiz on Friday. There's been a lot of development in that. We have been working solidly since the virtual ECM event, working towards our virtual Eurovision replacement service that we can talk about later on, which is because Eurovision was cancelled. We thought, oh well, we better do something fun, because we normally do at least meet up in TeamSpeak for a congressional moaning and laughter at the expense of some of the acts and such, but we're unable to do that, and it's a shame because this year Russia pulled Little Big, as their representatives. And if anyone has seen any of Little Big's videos, I'm okay. I'm not alcoholic. I'm okay is one of the best videos you'll see that they've done, and all of their songs are kind of like that. They're catchy. They're kind of tongue in cheek, and they're probably about 2 decades behind every other country's pop, which is actually really nice and really good. So,
Which probably means they'll win.
well, I don't know. Their Eurovision entry was okay. It was all right. It wasn't what we were hoping for from them, to be overly camp and a bit rude, but with a little hint of their style. It's good, but I think, you know, when you try and rush these things for something you're not comfortable with, you end up with stuff like that. Whereas it's better than the other countries where you can hear that clearly some songwriter somewhere has binned previous versions of proper released songs that they've sold on later, and they've kept them back to pass off to Greece and to Italy and to all these other countries that pay for these songs and then reuse them. You sit listening to going, that sounds exactly like X, Y, and Z, but just a little bit worse. So, yeah, it's a good time for songwriters. Well, it was. Now it's cancelled, so they're all screwed. Other than that, crikey, I don't know. I don't know. We're obviously continuing our tech setups and stuff with a view to Lave, because obviously moving, I put a bit of work into the Artemis. So I say we, I meant him. He put a lot of work into the Artemis setup, which if you were at VECM, you'd have seen him and his bottom wiggling as he pulled cables, and sparks and smoke came flying out everywhere. So he's working on refining that profile ready for, well, whatever happens this year, in the hope that something comes.
Well, we always wish. I take it Move's feeling a lot better.
His new medication seems to be making a significant difference. Unfortunately, lockdown plays into the whole mental health issues, and I think it's actually probably a good point to put a message out that there are a number of you out there who have suffered with depression and various different mental health issues and this isolation is really not good for it. And we're getting to that point now where it's beginning to bite in, and normal people are beginning to lose their temper, become short-tempered with things, and get annoyed by the slightest thing. Just check in. All you gotta do is just go and make sure that those people that have been a bit quiet for a couple of days, you've not heard from, just send them a wee message and make sure they're alright. Give them an opportunity, get them into a game and pass some time together, because that's all we've got to do is just pass the time. And we know very many of our crew, I mean, we've got if he's out there, if you're listening in, Toxic, hello, we hope you're good, mate, we hope you're good, and take care of yourself, and we'll see you when it's all past. And that's it, just, reach out, say hello. I think that's about it, isn't it?
Right. Well, actually, that's a pretty worthy message, because I know that I'm beginning to lose it personally. Commander, how you been?
I haven't been too bad, really. Just talking about the lockdown. Our dog is suffering from lockdown fever. It's sort of turning feral at the moment, and it's getting a bit stir crazy. Even though it goes out for walks twice a day, it's kind of like going a bit Scooby Doo. So yeah, well, what have I been up to in real life? Just staying in, really. Been on the phone to quite a bit to my parents and relatives and stuff, because as Cal said, it's got 6 to 7 weeks now since the lockdown happened, and because they're part of the vulnerable group, they've had the letter to say, for goodness sake, please stay in. They haven't really seen another sort of person other than each other for the last 7 weeks, and normally they're sort of out and about and socializing with everyone, so they're finding it quite hard. So we've been making extra special efforts to make sure they're still okay. In game, let me see what I've been doing. I'm still sorting all my ships out, running some maths to work out whether I want to have a fleet carrier or not. And yeah, so basically life is normal, really.
Well, at least something is normal for some.
I usually work from home anyway, so I kind of like I can't understand what all the fuss is about, you know.
Yeah. Ben.
I think I stopped being normal quite a long time ago, to be honest. But apart from that, I've been fine. Same as everyone else. Working away from home. My daughter broke my heart the other day when I was just on the phone to her, and I was just talking away quite happily, and then she burst into tears, and then just like, "I miss you, Daddy." I was like, "Yeah, I feel like a complete twat now."
Yeah,
There's
but
not a
then
lot.
she said, "But don't worry, we can be
But don't worry, what?
there. We can be."
Isn't that response usually followed up with "I love you, Daddy. Please, can I have a?" And then
She's only 3.
yeah,
When
but
I
that's when
get,
they
I love.
start.
Yeah, when I get, I love you, Daddy. Will you buy me a car when she's 17? That's when you get worried.
Oh, it'll be the pony stage first.
Yeah, and the answer to the pony's going to be the same as the answer to the car. Sod off and get your own.
And anything in game?
What have I been doing? I've been playing quite a lot of RimWorld, actually. So I've been playing RimWorld. I've been pootering around in Elite. Call of Duty had a big update, which totally and utterly broke Call of Duty. So I haven't actually been able to play that. That made that it's not just Elite Dangerous that has bugs in their patches. So I guess that's a good thing. I don't know how, but when we were playing COD, they've managed to break all the voice communications. So you can go off and start a session, and you're talking away quite happily to everyone in your squad, and then 30 seconds in, all voice communication goes. Or maybe it doesn't. It's just not reliable.
Nothing to do with Virgin Media.
Nothing to do with Virgin Media. It seems to be worldwide, because I've seen people all across the world basically saying, "Yeah, I've got this too." We are sort of countering it by using Discord, but trying to convince an Xbox person to go onto Discord is very, very hard.
Challenging.
Yes. Because of course Xbox users are like, "Well, why don't you come onto Xbox Live Party Chat?" To which the PlayStation person says, "Because I can't, you brat." So there's and it's a shame that there is nothing that is natively a native. There isn't a native cross-platform chat client across consoles, PCs, tablets, etc.
Well, there's an idea. Fancy writing.
You'd never get it past Sony or Microsoft or.
And that's the problem. I bet you Discord would love to be native on Xbox or PlayStation, and PlayStation and Xbox they say, "Yeah, fuck you, mate." But my God, I wish there were. Xbox users can talk to PC users using the Xbox Game Bar thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there might be a way to join a PlayStation party from a PC, but I've never managed to get that working. But getting a PlayStation and an Xbox to talk to their party things is just it never happens, and it just.
Couldn't you use something called a phone?
Well, that's basically what we're doing. Is like okay, so you poor bastards on the Xbox, get into Discord on your phone, and we'll talk using that. But it's a less than ideal solution, and my God, I wish. Even if Zoom worked on Xbox and PlayStation, that'd be all right.
But then everyone could hear what you're saying.
Only if they're in your meeting.
Have you not heard about the?
Well, unless you want to hack it,
security holes in Zoom.
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, fair enough. But I'm assuming that's going to get resolved at some point fairly quickly.
Soon, TM.
Soon, TM, yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I. Oh, and I've also been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I've been re-enjoying. Because I think they're coming up. They're either at the final season of that, or just coming up or it's just about to come up. And of course, it's showing up on Disney Plus as well. So yeah, I've been enjoying that too.
Right. Well, look. Let's see. What have I been up to? Let's see. My Power Play player has been now been doing Power Play for 9 weeks, and it's still interesting, believe it or not. At the moment, Arissa is now defending against Crom. Crom is coming at us left, right, and centre.
You mean Grom?
And on top of Grom, that's
Crom. Crom is one of the deities in Howard's Conan.
is it? Oh, no, I'm getting things mixed up again. I blame it on the COVID. Anyway, that's been interesting. Fight having to deal with an incursion. On top of that, my main character has now gone past 50% deadly. Yeah, those Thargoid scouts won't kill them. And I've been one of the reasons why I haven't been concentrating on that is mostly because of the new Xbox crime, and that's it's one of these games which I think I'll just give it a quick 5 minutes, just one turn, and then bang. So that's really been me for the last week or so.
Talking about deadly, Colin, how's the Xeno Bunny?
The Varavit is absolutely fine. I just had to get him more medication today, but apart from that, he's now got new toys to play with. And
You've been feeding it the next door's children or something?
oh, he's not laid any eggs. Don't worry, Shan. He's one of these days I'll get him to talk back. Anyway,
you really worry me sometimes if you think your rabbit will talk. It's not Donnie Darko.
Well, that's one film I've not seen.
Oh, it's great.
Everyone tells me to watch it, but yeah, Cromer's Croner's good. Okay, fine. Got Crom and you're right. Never mind. Mixed. Bunny Barco, it's overrated. Right, fine. Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
You need to sort of watch it a couple of times, I think, to get your head around it.
Okay, so we'll just quickly go through the development news, which there's been 3 important bits. So I guess we'll touch on the big important one so far. It was announced last Friday that the new era has been pushed back to Q1 or early 2021. And this comes from a shareholder article. We had originally planned for Elite Dangerous Major Update to be released in December 20, but in the context of the current COVID-19, we have now set a Q1 2021 release date. Now, obviously, when this went on the forums, it was kind of sort of like a 60%, oh, we understand, and 40% you horrible people because you can't keep coding at home. You're working from home. Reddit was completely different. Reddit was so sold could keep the roads clear of ice for a year. What does everybody think of this? We'll start with Shan.
In some senses, I can understand the delay, because if your culture isn't set up to have people working from home, it can be disruptive. And if the people who you have working for you don't have suitable space to work from home, again, it can be disruptive. What I would question is the loss of productivity in the last 6 weeks, has that really cost 3 months worth of time? And that's kind of, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just asking the question because I've been working from home for way too many years, as has most people I work with, and they actually find their productivity goes up once they've kind of got themselves established and used to it. So I'm just wondering where they lost the 3 months to in the last 6 weeks.
Well, I would disagree with that on one personal. Before I bring everybody else, I disagree for that from having to dev at home myself at the moment. If it was just me by myself at home, then probably. But at the moment, I'm not. I've got to deal with homeschooling kids and other things that are happening.
That's why I
at the
said
same time.
once you've got yourself set up, and some people won't have that environment where they can boot the kids out, and that's why it's a cultural thing. It's just I'm wondering whether or not it's really 3 months worth of delay, or is it some more nefarious reason it was going to be late, and this is just a way of explaining the delay more. But anyway,
Well,
just asking the question.
Okay, Alec.
I was just going to chip it. I mean, Shan's already sort of touched on it, really, but I just wondered how long of a delay we actually, excuse me, thought it was. I mean, 3 months worst case, but it could just be talking a month or two. What do we think? Do we think it's the full 3 months?
Well, I've made the assumption. This is just me personally, but I have made the assumption that there won't be the full release until the 31st of March. Although we could probably still have from January onwards.
Okay, interesting. I suppose there is a lot. I'm now working from home. I work for a software company, so we should be familiar with computers, and I'm kind of struggling. But it is that getting set up thing, I suppose. Just today I lost the ability to remote desktop to my PC that's sat on my desk at work, and as it happens, I have stuff I still sort of need on that, and so yeah, you just hit these little daily delays that cause problems. But I guess Shan's right. Once you get set up, it should be great. And how long does it take to get set up? A month? I don't know.
Well, what I've found, and it's a discussion I often have with people at the place I work, is say, okay, you have 10 people who go to a meeting, let's say in London. It takes them 2 hours each way to get to London and back. So that's a total of 40 hours that they've spent traveling. So have you gained a whole working week from having that meeting with the 10 people all in a room? Because if the answer is yes, then great, have the meeting. If the answer is no, you haven't made up that working week, then why have you dragged people into that office when it's more time efficient not to have them spend 4 hours traveling? That's the sort of question that people should be asking, I think. But anyway.
Well, anyway, okay. Anything else to add, Alec, or can I move on to Mac?
No, move on. I mean,
Right.
I thought it was unexpected.
Okay, Mac.
It was not unexpected.
Well, I am Mac's complete lack of surprise. No, I don't mean to say this in a salty way. I've worked in software all my life basically, and I've worked on big projects, and software sizing is notoriously difficult to get right. It's just hard. There are ways you can do it. There are ways you can do it accurately. For instance, my job after graduating, which I was in for about 6 years, we were doing this great big project for the US government, and they insisted we be SCI CMM level 3, which is basically like a process assurance, and we're actually level 4, and this allowed us to do sizing really well because we had all the requirements were like really well defined. Everything was really well defined. We almost got it down to science sizing. But game development, you don't have those nice requirements. You can't really do SCI CRM level 4 or 5 because it's just far too expensive. I mean, level 5 is the sort of thing you'd use if you're writing avionics or medical or safety of life software. And level 4, maybe not so much, but even so, it's still an expensive process. I mean, the requirements we got from the US government were basically, they must have spent 2 or 3 years writing just the damn requirements. And a game developer won't have that. So firstly, just getting the sizing right for them is notoriously difficult. So I'm not surprised at all that they're saying there's a delay. I mean, it's effectively a 3-year project, and to have a quarter slippage on a 3-year project really ain't no big deal, to be honest. The other things we got to consider, apart from, I think, looking at the Twitch chat here, Kaizen saying, don't forget about the huge builds people have to download. Well, yeah, but they're in Cambridge, so they've got fibre to the premises in everybody's houses. They've got really good internet connections. But the other thing is they've got things like, it's not just the devs who are perhaps used to gathering around the water cooler and haven't worked from home. They're having to set up their the VPN into the office, which maybe they never had before. But it's also that they've got all the artist stuff going on, which is part of the project. And they're going to need some people present in things like studios to do voice acting and things like that. I mean, yeah, some of that could probably be done from home, but not everybody who needs to do the voice acting has got nice, like, £500 microphones and all of this kind of jazz. So they can't do they literally can't do their work until they can travel to a studio and do all their recording, all that stuff. So there's that aspect as well. So yeah, even if there wasn't a COVID crisis, I wouldn't have been entirely surprised about a quarter slippage, just because of the difficulty in sizing a project so big with, let's face it, the community thinks it knows the requirements, but if you think of the community, if you look at community opinions, they're all pulling in about 5 different directions, and yeah, so it's a big project with probably quite ill-defined requirements, and yeah, the slippage is going to happen. It's just it's very difficult to size that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but neither am I salty about it, because I have a lot of sympathy for their predicament, having to develop a large, complex project. So anyway, that's my bit.
Cow, are you going to be able to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a frustrating thing, first of all, because everyone's really excited about an update and wanting it, and you've been looking forward to it for some time, and then any delay to that is always going to be a kick in the ass, and you're going to get upset. But this is an unprecedented situation. We've never, had anything like this before. It affects everybody in different ways. So if you want to remove any human factor whatsoever, then go ahead and chastise them for delays and things. But we're not out of this yet. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous to be so critical of their timescales and to suggest that they can do stuff when you don't know what the situations are, the human factors involved. And as much as, there are practical examples and people have experience of working remotely, it's not necessarily going to be accurate for everyone involved. So you've got sickness as well, you've got family worries, you've got external concerns, and you've got external companies, and you've got other things that they've got planned that cannot happen because the other companies they're relying on for X, Y, and Z are not available. I mean, just looking at it on a sort of minor scale, from organising ECM, for being involved in the likes of what we put together before we do LaveCon. And, you've not, although LaveCon's actually one of the easier ones because it's all in that nice little venue, so you only really have that to tackle. But, with ECM, you've got 6 different people that are affected, so you go, well, we can do it, that's fine, but unfortunately we rely on these guys, and they're closed because one of their members of staff has been adversely affected by it, and in fact, they're critical in hospital. You wouldn't criticise them. You don't criticise. I was going to say Pavarotti, but there's no point criticising Pavarotti. But you don't criticise your favourite band because they've cancelled tours because it's been locked down. It's what you want versus what is realistic, and you've got to give them time. And as I say, this could delay. I wouldn't be surprised, but I've got no bearing or basis. It's purely just based on the fact that we don't know what's happening with this pandemic, when we're going to ever see the back of it, and how businesses will adapt and have to find ways to adapt to work around any restrictions that are ongoing. There could very likely be an extension in the delay as well. The whole point is it's a big jigsaw that has to be assembled, and some of the factors of the assembling are going to be directly affected and delayed. You can't. it's just, to me, it kind of it's a non-brainer. So many other businesses are shut. Are we going to scream and lose our crap at McDonald's because they closed? I don't know.
Well, there will be people on the forums that will about the fact, basically, because it's something to complain about.
Well, you see, I get it. We're in the crazy period. We're in the stir crazy. Cabin fever has set in, and people are looking for something to distract them. But I think the criticism is unfair. If we get out of this pandemic, we see the back end of it. Everything starts to fall back into normal. Then you find there's other issues that then cause another delay, and they'll be chastised again, and we'll have the same conversation.
Ben.
I mean, I completely agree with Grant there. So I just want to go off and say a couple of things. First of all, I think we're all our group are on average a little bit older than the Frontier developers, which is a polite way of saying we're a bunch of forum dads. And even then, I've got a 3-year-old. Collins, you've got a couple of kids. I know your kids are of age, at least Chan, now, where you can tell them to sod off and they understand. But you can't tell a 3-year-old that, can you? So I think because they're all a little bit younger, presumably their family's going to be, on average, a little bit younger. So there is going to be more interference from real life happening around you whilst you're trying to get on with work. Also want to say, and this is sounding a little bit harsh possibly against Frontier, that I don't know if I would call this just 1 quarter slippage, Mac. In some respects, this is 2020 or New Era is the thing that Frontier said they were going to have insinuated they were going to be giving us after Horizons. So, at least what we suspect is been thought about possibly since 2015, if not 2013, 2014. So I'm not 100% sure it's fair to say it's 1 quarter slippage. It could be as much as 4 or 5 years slippage, depending on how you look at it. And final thing that I was going to say is, even though we're all developers, I had a tech issue with my laptop the other day. My laptop, for some stupid reason, wouldn't accept that BitLocker was installed, and basically went off and locked itself up. And because of that, I basically lost most of a full day's development time, because our work has gone off and locked our laptops up so tightly, and I had to wait for our IT guys to come in and help me unlock it. So that was awkward.
Yeah, that's one thing that you do have. As long as everything's working fine, it's great. But as soon as you hit a snag, then having to wait for support to come in and give you help, that can be a delay in itself.
Whereas in the office, I just have to run across the corridor, and the guys are right there, and like, "Hey, Manny, can you go and slap my laptop, please, or enter the BitLocker key?" And usually they're also when they'll come and do that.
I mean, let's see. The Garn Frequency made a nice point that, I mean, this is probably because it's a dev as well. Don't worry, Sham, we'll come to you. Being a dev as well, they say that they're willing. Most companies 90 days grace just because of this, which is quite ironic, because the first thing that happened with Star Citizen was they jumped on it and said, no, there's going to be even more delay. You'll notice that the latest patch had a lot less in it than what they're expecting. So it is happening to everybody. Shan?
I just want to come back on a few points. As I said earlier, it's part of the prerequisite for the delay is having the corporate company culture and setup to enable remote or home working. And touching on what Cal was saying, I think that this home working is going to be, in quotes, the new normal, certainly until there's a vaccine widespread, which could be up to 2 years. So this isn't just, one working from home for the summer. If you believe what's in the papers and what's been rumoured, it will be you work from home unless you've got a key worker reason for coming into the office. And so companies and even the people who find it difficult to adapt to remote working, I think will find themselves not in trouble, but with a great deal of stress. And touching on what Ben said about kids, I started working from home when my eldest was 18 months and my youngest wasn't even born then. And right from the early age, now they were homeschooled as well, and Mrs. Shan stayed at home. But the rule was that when I worked from home, I would dress as if I was going to the office. I'd be smart casual, and they learned from an early age when Dad is in his office or when Dad is working from here, he's in the office, he's at work, and don't come in. And that's where it comes about. The cultural change and the relationship change that has to happen within the family to enable that to happen. I'm not pretending it's easy because it ain't, but if this is how it's going to have to be for the next 2 years, then we kind of have to get on with it because the alternative is not having a job, being blunt about it, because it's how it's going to be. And going on to the subject of the delay, I mean, I can understand it being delayed a bit, to be honest, because as you say, it is an upheaval. I think the test will come as will the other projects that Frontier got on, have they been delayed by a similar period as well? Because you would figure if it's delayed New Era by however many months, it would then figure the other projects they've got on would also be delayed because it's the same company and the same tech setup and the same sort of culture.
I mean, that's actually quite interesting. That's one of the things we're actually going to be talking about later is other releases, but is the only thing that's officially what they've got a release date is the New Era.
I think it is. I mean, Frontier don't tell us we don't really know what and when we're getting anything for Planet Coaster, if anything's happening for Planet Coaster these days. Same goes, I don't think anything's happening in Jurassic World. Planet Zoo just had an update. When they're going to be doing the next update, I don't think there's any real news about that.
I figured we could find out from the financial reports because they would report the expected revenue for the next quarter. So if in the next financial report that revenue they predicted is moved forward a quarter, then it's kind of affected things. That's I think how you can tell without an official release date being.
But then, I mean, that's one of the things that that Frontier moving the date to Q1 2021, it's not actually going to affect. It's not going to affect their annual results. At least that's the hope, I guess.
No, but they do report quarter by quarter, don't they? So if they thought New Era is going to bring out, I don't know, £20 million in the fourth quarter calendar of the year, and they then say, well, the 20 million we thought was going to be then is now going to be realised first quarter calendar 2021, then you can see how that impact would follow on.
I've not seen them ever saying we expect that, but maybe they do.
It's in the reports. They do give estimated revenue per quarter. But anyway.
Right. Well, I think we've done that one to death. We'll just have to wait and see, which is all we really do on this one. And of course, they won't go into any new details about New Era until after fleet carriers have been fully released. Now, in other Frontier news, they've got a Games Workshop license. The Frontier Development announces an exclusive IP license for the Games Workshop develop and publish a real-time strategy with the rich and extensive world of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now, our Warhammer expert, who's the station commander Alan Stroud, has corrected, because I thought this was just Warhammer Fantasy, but apparently this is Warhammer Fantasy Battles replacement, kind of. It's not completely a replacement. They think they might bring, but yeah, it's. Do you think they're up for a real-time strategy game?
I don't see why they're not up for a real-time strategy game. Yeah, I think the thing that I find really ironic about it, though, is Blizzard's thing, World of Warcraft, or Warcraft rather, was
StarCraft.
done. No, Warcraft was originally done as a proposal for Warhammer, and Games Workshop told Blizzard to start off. And now, of course, we've had all like the Dawn of War series and things like that. I don't think of any reason why I don't think Frontier could do an RTS. But I think the interesting thing about this is doing an RTS was one of the things that was mentioned in this leak that happened, was about a year ago or so now?
Is it? Yep, it's about a year ago.
So they didn't mention Warhammer or anything like that, but they did mention that they were aware of an RTS being worked on. Which, as much as I hate the idea of leaks, it does lend even more credibility to it.
Yes.
Shan?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I was about to think about what sort of RTS are they going to be developing. And I don't mean whether it be the StarCraft thing. Is that will it be aimed at the competitive RTS? Like StarCraft, where you have to have like a live stream observer mode. Where you can shout cast over it, and you can have all the esports part of it, or will it be more like the Command and Conquer style single player RTS? Because if they go the latter, the multiplayer tournament aspect of RTS, it's going to need a continual balancing and adding and changing of units to keep it interesting and competitive. So I don't know. Potentially, it's pretty cool, but as I say, it depends on the sort of RTS they're going for. Because I love Command and Conquer, and I loved all that kind of style. But there's the competitive stuff I was less into. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, must admit, I got Dawn of Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 1 and downloaded off Steam a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, really, really good. So if they've come up with something similar to that, I'd be happy. Mac.
Yeah, I play StarCraft quite a lot. StarCraft 2 quite a lot. I played the original as well, StarCraft, and I think when did I start? Warcraft. Yeah, I started with Warcraft 2 with Carly, if you remember that, which basically allowed you to play IPX games over the internet. But yeah, the balancing. There's two things about competitive RTSs. Firstly, the community is always so salty, and everything's imbalanced. You hear you like StarCraft. You got 3 races, and if you're Zerg, then Terran's Imber, and if you're Terran, then Zerg's Imber. If you're Protoss, then and so on and so forth. So you get all the you get an incredible amount of salt, and it's almost all entirely wrong. And what Blizzard do, they do tiny little, they just tweak it here and there to get the balance right. They do a pretty good job of it. But eventually the game will kind of converge at something that's reasonably well balanced. For instance, Brood War is still played competitively. It's still very popular in South Korea. And I think the last time Brood War had a balance patch was something like 2002. All it's had since then are new maps, which have generally been coming from third parties. And Brood War remains a popular competitive game in some parts of the world. And of course, the StarCraft 2 as well has been out for a long time now. The most recent installment, which is Legacy of the Void, that's been out for something like 4 or 5 years now. I think StarCraft 2's coming on about 10 years since its first release. They're still tweaking the balance on Legacy of the Void, but you can see they're starting. In fact, they've gone on for a lot longer than they ever did with Brood War. But you can see it's kind of converging onto everything's being pretty balanced. Eventually, the only thing we'll see is like new maps in the map pool, and there won't be so many changes here and there. But even now, the changes they're making, there's a balance patch for that coming soon, and it's just minor tweaks, very minor tweaks, like changing costs by 15 minerals and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's certainly big arts balancing, and the community in these RTSs. If they think Elite Dangerous community is salty, they ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, and this was the point I was coming to, is that it needs a level of game and community interaction in a balance and if you like, anti-salt way that I haven't seen from Frontier as yet. So, for example, dealing with cheaters, dealing with exploiters, dealing with this toxic griefing element, all of that is staple for someone who wants to run a competitive RTS or a competitive anything. And Frontier haven't yet demonstrated the I won't say the skill, but they haven't demonstrated that's what they do. For example, in Elite, the game is hugely out of balance with mining versus everything else, and yet that's been the same for 2 years. If they allow that imbalance to continue in an RTS, then no one's going to compete playing it anymore. It's just going to die as a competitive game. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they do, or how they manage it, if that's the way they go. They may decide it's too much trouble to do the competitive RTS stuff and just leave it as like a single player or limited multiplayer.
Well, okay, Mac.
Yeah, on the other hand, we like to pile onto Frontier about various things, but it took Blizzard quite a long time to get it right. I know when StarCraft 2 came out, there were virtually no community features for ages, and which was really surprising considering how experienced Blizzard are at developing multiplayer games. And really, to get the community features that people wanted in it took a good 5 years. So it's not just Frontier who can be a bit
I think
sluggish at this kind of thing.
I think my thoughts around that is, well, we know what's required now, because you just say Blizzard have been there and done that and got the war wounds. So you would hope that they would learn the lessons of Blizzard and they wouldn't start from scratch. So you think, okay, well, Blizzard didn't do this or Blizzard did that and it worked, so therefore we'll copy that way of doing it because it's been refined over X years. I don't think.
Well, so lot of community interaction to come. Because if anybody knows the Warhammer community, they're quite passionate as well. So the final bit of Frontier news is, which ironically normally this would be the main headline, but Beta 2 has been announced. It's going to run from the 11th of May to the 26th. If you have a PS4 or Xbox account, you have to use a special code in order to get the build. I think there has been an email gone out to most people who have got the build, so you need to download the code and download the new build. But yeah. Is everybody looking forward to Beta 2?
I'm looking forward to seeing what lessons have been learned from Beta 1 and how they will be reflected in Beta 2. That's going to be interesting.
Okay, Alec?
I just wanted to say it's very inconvenient that Beta 2 is that week. It's smack bang in the middle of our latest race, and thanks, Frontier. But so I am looking forward to Beta 2 because Kaizen is going to pimp me a fleet carrier, which is awesome because I didn't have enough money to try it in the first one. Yay!
Lucky you. Mac.
Yes, beta timing. Yeah. Hopefully I'll try and download. I didn't download the last one because the trouble is when my machine's dual. I've got one computer. It's for my main rig, and it's dual boot. So during the day I'm working Linux, and then I have to reboot it into Windows to play games, and that means I can't just let it sit and download while I'm working. So I never actually got to download the last one. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to download it, even though I don't have the credits at the moment. Believe it. This is very hard to say coming as an EIC person, not having the credits, not having 5 billion credits to buy a fleet carrier. But unfortunately, I don't. So I'll have to try and play with other people's. But yes, talking of badly timed things, with the racing, the worst timing we had. I was ending an expedition, the Thanksgiving 3304 on the day the whatever the Beyond dropped with the new exploration mechanics, and we were arriving, and the server problems are horrific, and our arrival was a complete and utter shambles because anyway, that was probably the worst timing for an update, but at least betas are optional. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make a point of leaving my machine on overnight and downloading it because I really need to give it a go.
Right. Well, I mean, I must admit, I'm the same boat as a lot of. I'm not going to be able to afford one. I am going to be running around using other people's, but hopefully.
You can use mine, Colin.
Pardon?
You can use the fleet carrier.
Oh dear! I'll set the bunny up. Okay, fair enough. Try and be serious.
What's the probability of being marooned if you randomly land on Shan's fleet carrier?
Oh,
0.
I don't know, 100.
I'm nice.
100%.
But the whole anglerfish idea.
It all depends how quickly you can get off, really, doesn't it? Yeah, as long as you take off as soon as Shan's got 5 minutes or whatever it is to get you, or is it 15 minutes to get you? So, if you log off and you're on his server, then on his fleet carrier, on your own head, be it. On the other hand, if you just use it,
Ben, what you're forgetting, Ben, is it costs me money to jump the carrier.
I'm not forgetting that at all, Shan. I am aware, approximately, that you can just throw billions at lols. And you would find it lols.
You've got the wrong Shan. This is not the Shan you're looking for.
Nothing to see here, move along.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, let's just say I ain't going to trust anyone's fleet carrier. Apart possibly the Elite Dangerous Deep Space Network thing, but yeah, even then, probably not dock up, refuel, repair, and then just park myself at the local star, thank you very much. Because I know that ain't going to jump anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably touch on this later. Well, I think we can actually touch on it. Let's see. Rob 100, was it? Rob 100?
100 Rob.
100 Rob. He's published the results of unofficial survey for the that they did on the fleet carriers. And one of the things that really surprised me was the amount of the percentage of people who said, yeah, I can afford it.
That surprised me as well, because that's a lot higher percentage responding to his survey that said they could afford it than responded and said to Obsidian Ants, because I think that was about 7 or 8% of people said who responded to Ant's survey said they could do it.
It was about 8%, I think it was.
Yeah, whereas this is almost like 25-30%, isn't it?
It's almost 40%. I'm just looking at the results now.
Yeah.
Went to the question: do you currently have enough spare credits to buy a carrier? 38% said yes, out of 3,300 people. So
Which is
that's
not an insignificant amount of people.
Well, let's be sort of pragmatic about it. It's what, a couple of weeks worth of mining and boring to get that amount. You know, it's because I saw the survey and it's quite interesting. And if you look at the uses, people say this is what I'm going to use my carrier for. What jumped out at me was the big bar that said the majority of people are going to use it for mining, which means they'll be dumping their ice diamond, their ice diamonds or stuff like that in the carrier, jumping the carrier to wherever you can sell them cheapest, most, and then just offloading it and then coming back. So that not only does that show me the use people will be putting for mining, it also then explains where people got money from to afford them in the first place.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that that particular question actually.
Was there what are you going to use it for? I thought the question was how are you going to earn the credits to buy it, which was heavily dominated by mining.
Yeah,
what you're going
that's
to
what
use
I've
it
got.
for.
There are three questions. How would you prefer to earn credits to buy a fleet carrier? Then you've got how do you actually plan to earn credits for a fleet carrier, where it's 83% mining. And side note, preferred versus actual used credit making methods. Effectively, what I get from that is the fact that the only way that you're going to afford a fleet carrier is if you go mining.
Yeah, which
Not
goes
what
back to
people
the
are going to
point.
use it for.
Right, okay. Which goes back to the point I was making earlier when we talked about the RTS about how imbalanced and how long the game has been imbalanced towards one particular activity. Because if that's how people are going to get it, then all the other professions and ways of earning money are completely out of kilter.
I must point out that Kaizen actually makes a very good point in the chat room because it is a self-selected group. Though it's more likely that if you're not going to buy a fleet carrier, you're less likely to respond to the survey. So those people who aren't interested in fleet carriers, they don't.
I think you should ask a different question. Do you plan to use Shan's carrier, yes or no?
No.
You know what? I will use it once and then never again, probably.
I've already used it once, and I had a lovely visit to a white dwarf. No, sorry, it wasn't white. It was to a neutron star, and it was beautiful. So thank you very much, Shan.
You're welcome.
Alec Turner says about he's turning into the Oprah Winfrey of carriers. Carrier for you, carrier for them. Okay, Alec, you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point. It was right at the beginning, really, but you were saying about being surprised about how many of the people had how much money and how many could afford it. But it's pretty much Kaizen's point. But right at the top, it does point out that 54% of the people who took the survey consider that they've reached endgame elite. So the survey's coming from a fairly targeted group here, really.
So I find that a bit depressing, actually, that people think the end game is to get so much credit, say, by a carrier.
Well, you see, that's how end game is what you make it. I consider power play to be the end game. A lot of people would disagree with that. In fact, I've actually come to some serious conclusions about power play later. That's for another time.
And I consider. Sorry, if Mac wants to go, then yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say on the self-selection thing. Yeah, the survey is probably most definitely self-selection. The other thing is most people who fill in these surveys usually only fill it in if they've got something to complain about. You know, if you're entirely satisfied with something, nah, I can't be asked. But if you got a gripe, it's like, yeah, I'm going to get this down and all this. So I suspect not only is it self-selected, it's self-selected for people who are going to buy a carrier and have some gripe in there somewhere as well. So they want to make someone hear their gripe, so that there's a bit of feedback there. So I think it's probably there's a bit of self-selection on 2 levels for any of these. So anyway, there you go. That's my bit.
Okay, Ben, and then back to Shan.
Doesn't matter. I can't remember now. Doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It was
Shan.
a response to, what were you were going on about? It wasn't about surveys. It was about something else you were talking about. So, yeah.
Endgame?
Pardon?
Endgame.
Oh yeah,
Endgame
Endgame. That's what it is. Yeah, I've always considered Endgame. Once I've got enough money to do what I want to do, then I'm basically quite happy. You know, I've got a couple of rebuys. I'm not worrying about anything. I can afford the ship I want without grinding for it. Then that's Endgame as far as I'm concerned in Elite Dangerous.
So just as a personal question, do you consider yourself reach that end game then?
I would consider myself. My end game is a lot lower of an end game than your end game, I think.
So you're saying Colin's got a bigger end game than you've got?
Colin's got the bigger
Or a
end
longer end
game.
game?
No, I'd say a deeper end game. No, I just I've never. I can do what I want, and I'm happy with it. And if I want to go and do Xeno hunting, I can do Xeno hunting. If I wanted to do BGS, I can do BGS. If I wanted to get into Power Play, I could do that. If I wanted to do CQC, I could do that at day one. So, I've got. I basically consider it once I've got one big the access to a variety of shit, plus access to all the engineering stuff, plus access to maybe about 600 million in the bank in spare change. That's what I kind of consider endgame. You've got enough money that you're self-sufficient and you've gotten everything that you want to get, or you can at least get it.
Yeah, well, see, up till now, I think most people who have started this game not really knowing it have said, once I've got the Anaconda, I've won the game. Now that the fleet carriers are in, people are now thinking, now that I've got a fleet carrier, I've won the game.
Yeah, and that's complete bullshit.
I think that's the wrong attitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so fleet carriers, sort of a week to the new beta starts. So see you all there. So quickly move on to some in-game events which are happening this week. Operation Ida, they are now working on Rendoc in 64 RT. They're doing quite well with that. The Anti-Xeno Initiative, well, there's nothing new to report. No new activity on the Thargoid front, just the usual Pleiades and the Witchhead Nebula. Commander Mgram has managed to show off how to kill off a Thargoid using a killback of all shit. Although there are reports of a civil war or a conflict between two of the anti-Thargoid organizations, tensions between the Hive and the Hanks alliance of antis are apparently quite high at the moment. So you have been warned there might be a little bit toing and froing in the Pleiades. So there has been no newsletter this week. So before we go on to our main discussion, I'd like to take a bit of an ad, and then we'll come back with what we think is another rumoured update, which will be base build.
Has Grant turned on the advert?
You know what? I don't think so. You'll just have to do your own Eddie Lee Wise impersonation. We'll cut this out. It'll be fine in the.
It's fine in post, yes.
Natural remedies have always been some of the galaxy's finest, so when we discovered a wholly natural way of slimming down and reducing your appetite, we had to share it with everyone. Harnessing the amazing powers of our native parasitic life, we've solved an age-old problem. Vega Slimweed has been used by settlers of the region for decades with undeniable results and significant health benefits. If you think that Vega Slimweed could be the solution you're looking for, speak to your doctor today. Travelling with Vega Slimweed ingested may constitute smuggling. Please check before your journey and declare yourself at customs for an internal search. Failure to digest does not constitute grounds for reimbursement. Side effects may include, but are not limited to, increased blood pressure and heart rate, insomnia, nervousness, blurred vision, restlessness or headache. Some forms of parasite may cause stomach side effects like constipation, dry mouth, nausea, or vomiting. A small sample of patients exhibit full body paralysis, catatonic states, and internal hemorrhaging. Parasite must be purged before pupation, else death will occur.
You've flown ships at max speed. You've felt the power of the 30 megawatt mining laser. You've experienced the efficiency of the MB4 mining machine.
Wow.
But it leaves every hardcore miner with just one question.
Why can't I get a shave that's that fast, close, and efficient?
Introducing the Saracen MB5 shaving drone.
It's so smooth.
Combining the power of a mining laser with the convenience of a drone.
It's like every hair is targeted by a fighter and destroyed.
Saracen's patented shaving drone attaches to your face at the start of the day. Leave it to do its work, and when you come back to check, your face is shaved.
He's so smooth.
It's like I'm mining my face.
The Saracen MB5 shaving drone.
Now I feel manly.
Saracen Shaving, making shaving an unnecessary adventure.
Coming back. Oh, welcome back. Right, as I said before the ad break, we're going to discuss the other one of the other things which was rumored to be in the 2021 up, and that is base building. Now, obviously, this base will be, we're assuming, planet side. So, Chan, you want to start?
Yes, I've been thinking about bases for a few weeks now. Certainly since the fleet carrier reveal. Some of my thoughts around it was that you know how people were lamenting the fact that carriers were individual and were no longer squadron or group based. I have a suspicion bases will be that squadron content, because if you kind of think about it, and this is my train of thought, is that one of the main activities of player groups and squadrons is to establish a foothold in a system and then become the controlling power of that system. The issue of using carriers is they're mobile, so you could establish a base and then keep jumping around and expanding from there, a bit like carrier command, I guess. But with a base, you establish a base on a planet, you then expand into that system from that base, and so on and so on and so on. So it lends itself more, I believe, to squadron content than carriers do. The other thing I think that we've seen is the upkeep and decommissioning mechanic. If that is for technical reasons, and I've got no reason to disbelieve what Dav said in our interview, if that is for technical reasons, then it's therefore logically follows that bases will have the same mechanic. So again, that lends itself to squadron player group play, because I suspect the upkeep for a base will be substantially more than that of a carrier.
Yeah, I mean, this is the interesting thing about base building, as far as I'm concerned. One of the problems they've always cited against, dropping off your MB4 mining machine was that would make it persistent in the galaxy, and they said it was difficult for it. Now, obviously, do you think base building is going to be more expensive than fleet carrier? Alec?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Surface bases. One thing I was mulling over was there's clearly an issue with fleet carriers, the kind of junk issue that they don't want derelict fleet carriers all over the place, and hence upkeep and all this stuff about decommissioning that's got everyone so upset. Clearly, I mean, surely the only purpose of that is to stop people from buying a fleet carrier, getting bored of it, and just leaving it lying around. So yeah, I have to wonder about bases. Is there going to be upkeep for bases? If bases are permanent and other people can visit our bases, which I kind of assume you would, then do they not have the same problem of kind of littering the galaxy? Or is it not so much of a problem because if bases are planet-side, they're kind of locked into planet-side instances and aren't clogging up the system maps in the same way that thousands of abandoned fleet carriers would be? I guess I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts on that, whether they feel like they're going to be things that require upkeep and will get decommissioned if you don't do that.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, what I'm hoping for bases really is at the moment we've had a few kind of expansions of humanity. We've had Colonia, of course, and the stuff around the Pleiades and all that kind of stuff. What I'm hoping they're going to do is kind of go with the idea of like what we've got with carriers now. We've got essentially a mobile space station, which now everybody thinks the market's totally useless on a carrier, but it isn't entirely. We do now have, I think, on Loose Screws have made this point that now there is at least one commodity that is directly useful for commanders, and that's the tritium. So depending on how they do with NPC supply with tritium, there could already be a bit of a player economy for that. And there's also the other things like the engineer unlocks, you've got the modular terminals and bromolite and stuff like that, which of course the IC trading post is going to stock masses of. But now you'd be able to directly buy it off our carriers. But if you think, what I'm hoping for bases is I'll take this idea further. I don't know if you ever played Factorio, where you basically you're building buildings to bits of your factory, and each bit feeds the next bit, and so on and so on. They make a commodity which the next one uses to make something which the next three use.
Yeah,
I'm hoping we'll have that kind of thing. So the commodities we now can buy at stations are basically just labels with prices. But if they're actually inputs to expanding, say you're a player group, and you want to start a new colonization effort, I don't know, 1,000 light years outside the bubble, you're going to actually need this stuff to start building your colony and get it bootstrapped, and then bits of your colony will mine and extract to provide bits for your newer colony, for bits, and so on and so forth. So you actually get a kind of you get some real supply chains there. You get a real need for carriers because now you've got something that can haul 20-odd thousand tons of stuff at a time to your wherever you're building this base. And of course, if there's a lot of building going on, then carrier owners are going to want to park their carriers there selling this stuff, because it'll be a huge convenience to have having to traipse all the way back to the bubble to get this, to get say some of the advanced stuff. If somebody's brought a carrier with this stuff out there already, and then they can sell it to you at a profit to build your base and what have you. So I'm hoping all these things will start the whole change in focus with carriers way back when and what they've become now is because they're supposed to eventually feed into what's coming in the new era stuff. That's what I'm desperately hoping anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, one of the things that obviously I've been playing some No Man's Sky. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing was building my own little hidey hole stroke base, which was surprisingly more addictive than the actual rest of the game put together. But I mean, do you think this is a general question to the group? So go around, try and get your answers on this. Do you think the bases will have means of producing goods, like industrial bases or agricultural cultural bases. Are we going to need to create base defenses to defend against NPC attack, Thargoid attack, or even other player attack? And of course, the big one is, where are you going to be able to? Are you going to be able to be outside the bubble? Who would like to go first?
Me, please, before I forget what I was going to say. Okay, I would love it if we had something a bit like, I would say Satisfactory, actually, rather than Factorio. Mostly because that's got you running around in first-person mode, building all these factories. So that would tie in quite nicely with certain other aspects of their game. So I would love that, and I would love it if we could almost tie it into some kind of tower defense game. I think it would be brilliant if we could put your base down, analyze where things were, and say, right, that area of the planet has got a fairly decent copper area, and you set up an automated mining rig, and you're ferrying your stuff in from your mining raid over from your copper over to your over to sort of some kind of refinery, and then you could ship off your raw refined goods. But then you could also obviously dial that up to 11, convert all your refined goods into anything, into whatever you can be built. So into all the high tech stuff and make even more money. And I actually think that would be really, really interesting. And if they opened it up to being attacked by NPCs and other humans, incredibly interesting. But I could also imagine the Salt, and I think because of the Salt, Frontier won't allow that.
Are you thinking about it's becoming like a Space Engineers game, like a survival game, so to speak?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be a survival game. No, it's just another way of playing Elite. I land on the planet with my fleet carrier planing. That's not even a word. My fleet carrier planetary landing hub base thing, and then I jump out of my base and I go off and mine the raw resources to start automating everything, and then I can automate this and I can automate that and I can build this and do all that stuff if I want to. So if instead of flying a spaceship, I would rather build a base and have that all running around, why not? It's a very different game to Elite, but I think it could be a fun little game.
Yeah.
Or rather, a fun, quite big game, actually.
Shan, do you want to go?
Yes, I was just sort of expanding in my thoughts on the Space Engineer stroke survival game. So, Ben, you said you build stuff, you gather materials. So are you thinking that part of base building will be you go out in your SRV and then you collect materials from the surface?
If I want to
Bring them
manually
back to
do
your
it, I can
base,
do.
and then you have some sort of crafting mechanic, where you build aluminium stuff or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by a survival game. It's almost like a Minecraft crafting game.
I think that would be the base level of it. We're already we're not in a survival situation. We are in our ships quite happily hanging around there. I do not consider having the ability to bugger off out the planet and go and have a spa in Shanata Desra a survival game. On the other hand, if they go off and say, you've crash landed on Lave 2, good luck to you, mate, then so be it. But that's an even more different game. But yeah, I think you could go and do it manually, but I think the gameplay would be automating it up and potentially even building a spaceport so that other NPCs and or humans could land their ships, buy the stuff off of you, and then ship it off. So you're making the aluminium, and then they go off and fly it off to wherever aluminium's got an even higher sell point.
Is that similar to what happened in No Man's Sky? I mean, I haven't played it for years, so.
No.
So
Or
what
is it
happens to your base in No Man's Sky? Does that have a trading mechanic?
Colin? You've played it more than I have. My
Um,
base in No Man's Sky could basically, it was a place to sleep and a place to build stuff, and I was always right. In order to do anything, I need to go off and get more stuff so I can actually breathe for 5 more minutes. Bollocks.
no, there was you could create your own farm, create manufactured goods and things like that, but I never got that far into it. There is one of the things that I always compare it to. There was a YouTube streamer. I think he's still going. Commander Chaos. Now, one of the games that he reviewed was Planet Base, and it was very scientific on how it could be possible to create, say, a Mars base or bases on various different planet types. And I kept on thinking that would be great if you had that kind of base man, but also the fact you could bring in your own supplies on your own ship instead of having passing ships to help you. Mac?
Yeah, I think fundamentally though, whatever happens with any of this, it is going to fundamentally revolve around flying a spaceship, whether that be space trucking, combat, mining, or whatever. Because at its core, and Frontier have always said that they've always said we don't want people just sitting back doing nothing, making a passive income. We always want you always have to what we want it to be is a game where you're primarily flying a spaceship. So I think anything like base building or fleet carriers is always going to have a very dominant element of you need to be flying a spaceship to do it whatever it is you want to do. And to sort of slightly veer off, Ice Cold Potatoes is mentioning about upkeep here is what's putting him off. And I think that is probably actually a little bit deliberate on the part of Frontier. The whole point of upkeep, rather than some other mechanism, is so only those people who are really, really, because considering it's like a persistent entity in game, they only want the people who are really, really committed to actually buy one. They don't want just people to get who 5 billion go, yeah, I'll just buy one and park it somewhere. They want you to actually have some commitment and to think twice before you buy one. Hence the.
So how is that different to a base?
Well, I suspect the bases are going to have a similar. They're going to have a similar commitment element that you won't just build one and forget it. You're going to have some kind of commitment to maintaining it. Whether how big that is, that's obviously something that you got to kind of tweak in the you got to tweak the values like they've done with tweak drop by 90% like what you've done with fleet carriers, but they're going to have. I'm pretty sure they're going to have some. If base building is indeed in the new era, there's going to be some kind of mechanism to make sure you have to have a certain level of commitment to put these persistent, visible across all modes entities into the game, especially if they end up being parts of an economy. Like we're talking about the kind of Factorio idea, where each bit of a base might build something, and you might have other players depending on the outputs of your thing in the new colonies that people are setting up. So they'll probably want to make it so that people just don't go, oh, I'll buy it, man, and disappear, and then leave a load of people sort of hanging on, thinking, oh, our colony is now short of this, that, and the other because this player's just buggered off on us. So I think this is I think the idea of upkeep, what it may be in a different form. Of course we're only speculating at this stage, but it might be in a different form in the new era. But I suspect there's going to be a similar. You've got to be committed to this concept that's going to come along. Anyway, that's my piece.
Okay, Alec.
Yeah, I just wanted to chip in on something Max said about bases and sort of being tied to the classic elite space-based gameplay, and I just thought, well, I wonder if they are. I noticed there's a Eteric in the stream chat made an interesting comment about something along the lines of, something to do and see with space legs. Now the rumor does say space legs, base building. Doesn't necessarily imply those two things are tied together, but I wonder if they are. I wonder if it's not so much tied to things we do in a ship, but if it is something to do when you're walking around an elite fleet. I wonder if you'll land on a planet and start building your base and have to get out of your ship to do that and to interact with it and to I don't know exactly, not exactly water your crop.
Well, get out with a hammer.
Yeah,
have you
that
guys
sounds
seen any
really
videos of Satisfactory? Because that's exactly what you're doing in that.
Okay. So it's very
at least to start with.
I mean, presumably that's similar in No Man's Sky. Can you, when you develop your, I haven't played this bit of No Man's Sky. When you develop your base in No Man's Sky, are you kind of on foot? I don't know, wielding a hammer to make it.
You are effective in No Man's Sky. You're effectively generating things as you go along. You are on foot and you're actually building it as if you're building it by hand.
Okay.
You're not actually.
One thing that concerns me about that, do people feel like there's a bit of a sort of a realism immersion issue with that? Like Elite has this very strong sense of realism, and if it just would not fit in Elite to have this notion of the games where you sort of have a gift wrap box, and then when the time limit expires, it pops open and a house pops out. Elite can't possibly do that, and it can't have you just wielding a hammer and then suddenly a building appears. That would be
Why
terrible.
couldn't it be a bit like Thunderbird 2 and a ship comes down and drops off the module?
Like it, yeah. Let's do that.
Well, I do know that you do get a certain sense of achievement at building your base in No Man's Sky. That it's quite surprising. But also in No Man's Sky, you can actually do some silly bases. Now, someone said no. I think Twoplex in the chat room says you won't get that in Elite Dangerous because Elite Dangerous doesn't have a sense of. The thing is about Elite Dangerous is it's science-based. You build a base which won't scientifically survive. It going to survive.
And it goes back to what Frontier do best, which is management games again. So you can see all the stuff from Jurassic World about getting power supplies in there, and I could well imagine them doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is in No Man's Sky. You don't have to worry about your shelter having the right amount of power or lighting, or you do have to worry about. But you don't have to worry about it being breathable or anything like that. As soon as you walk into your base, you're fine. You can take your spacesuit is fine. But the problem is, if you're doing that in Elite Dangerous, you know that they'll want the right kind of oxygen. You want to have the right power levels. You need to have the right kind of radiation protection, that kind of thing. Ben?
I'm just thinking, the whole way we'd actually start this off would be... So, you guys remember Lost in Space, or the new series Lost in Space as well, where the Jupiter basically lands, and then they hit the transform button, and it grows a bit, and it turns itself into a base of operations rather than a spaceship. And I don't see why that couldn't be at least your starting point. And then you've got 3D printers and so on that build out from there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you see it as it just being a personal base, or do you want it to be to expand it to such a level that you've got basically the outposts in the game presently, or even one of the proper.
Personally, I would love it if this could actually turn into a full player-driven economy where you can see that the stuff that we are producing on the planets and in the mining, in the asteroid fields and so on, you can see that the stuff we're making and the raw materials we're pulling out goes to the mining stations, gets converted into something else, goes to somewhere else, and so on. If we could actually have all the way from chipping away with your little hammer at an asteroid to building a widget or whatever, I think that would be interesting, awesome, and I mean, it's a very different game from Elite, but I think it could be a hell of a good game.
It'd be great in some ways because, a big chunk of Elite is this sort of space trading game. Euro Truck Simulator in space, but we're just delivering numbers, text.
Yeah.
If there was suddenly a real sense of moving actual stuff that had a purpose, I think that would really make the flying around and delivering this stuff feel like it had a point and would feel so much more interesting.
Okay, Shan?
Yes, I was just thinking about Ben's question, would I want it to be individual or not? I don't think I would, because the game is desperate for more involved squadron content. So, and I think the disappointment people have felt over carriers being individual will be mitigated, I think, if bases are more involved than squadron. So I'm happy for carriers to be individual because you can kind of do your own thing if that's what you want. But bases, I think they should be squadron based, and I kind of hope they are.
That's funny that because I've always felt it would be the other way around. I've always felt that carriers were really going to be squadron and bases were going to be personal. But that's just my opinion. Mac.
Yeah, one thing that really intrigued me was I was listening to last week's Loose Screws podcast. I think it was last week. So I had the new community manager, Bruce, on, and he said numerous times, talked about wanting more player with player content. So, which kind of hints to me more squadron based stuff and that kind of thing. That kind of thing where the more MMO side of the game, as it were. So, since it was coming from an actual, even though sure he's new, he's new with the team, so perhaps hasn't. He obviously hasn't been there for the full history of the game, but the way he was talking on makes me very hopeful that there will be because in the past it's always seemed that Frontier's kind of done things to discourage players playing together. Like when Wings first came out, all the wing rewards were split, so you ended up making a lot less progress if you're in a wing. It seems to punish you for trying to, doing anything together seems to be punishing. But they kind of gradually reversed those things and made and to make flying in a wing sort of more rewarding and make people actually want to do it. Similarly with the that like for wing combat got it's now much more rewarding to do a conflict zone in a wing than not in a wing. So it looks like there is a I think especially with what Bruce is saying, I think there's a general movement towards more group-based content. Of course, the solo players you always get people who get a bit salty about this, saying, "Oh, I just want to play the game solo." All this stuff is always for lots of they're always thinking of the multiplayer and the PvP crowd and all this, that, and the other. But yeah, Kaizen's just saying it was the Elite Week interview with Bruce. It wasn't the Loose Screws podcast. But yeah, so but that makes me quite hopeful because I think doing stuff together, the player with player stuff in Elite, makes it 10 times more fun than just grinding something away on your own. Even something grindy becomes a lot more fun. I mean, wing mining is about 10 times more fun than just doing it solo. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this kind of hinting that about player with player stuff and all that is going to come to pass, and we're going to see more of a focus on stuff that can be done in a squadron or a group or whatever, because I think that you got a case for the people who just want to play alone as well, but there's just so much scope in player with player style play that will make the game just that much better, I think, and hopefully we're going that direction. Anyway, looks like Alec wants to get a word in.
Yes, Alec, would you like to jump in there?
Yeah, Kaizen's going to kill me for saying this. I do want. That was a great interview. That interview with Bruce on Elite Week. Everyone should listen to that. It was. I found myself thinking of it as triple spaced, by which I mean there was so much between the lines of that interview. I just found it fascinating. But I do wonder if. Sorry, Kai. I do wonder if Kai slightly led Bruce on that player with player stuff. You know, it was based on Bruce's background and that he'd worked on MMOs before, and I think maybe he was led slightly to talk about that side of things.
Works on RuneScape.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. The other point, anyway, is that I just wanted to touch on that thing. We haven't heard much about it since, about the thing about Frontier looking for an SRV AI programmer. And I always loved this idea that bases would be busy little places like space stations are, with SRVs coming and going. But I was always slightly concerned about where these SRVs are going. Planets are these vast, having driven around 3 of them, they're these vast spaces of nothing. Where are the SRVs going if they're driving?
So have you kind of got this picture of like space Teslas going around on autopilot?
I don't know. I love the idea of a base and somebody, an NPC drives up in his drives up in his SRV and collects something from your base and then drives off into the distance. But where the hell would he be going? There's like nothing out there. I don't know.
Probably going to mine just like the rest of us. Need some engineering materials.
Maybe. It would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I just love the idea of a base with these little SRVs coming and going occasionally.
And while there's an embarrassing silence, Parasiafu in the chat says, please stop with the multiplayer content already. We need better PvE content before everything else. Well, the thing is, multiplayer content can be PvE as well. For instance, take all the exploration expeditions. That's kind of PvP. But the we do a lot of PvE, like all the BGS stuff. We wing up and do PvE in like a high intensity conflict, or what is it? Not a high intensity, but the conflict zones. We do all those kind of things. So the two aren't mutually exclusive. PvE and PvP kind of often go hand in hand. So anyway,
I also think that, I mean, let's say for example we end up with something like Factorio in Elite. And I get an alert saying that my base is being attacked by the mighty Shan. I wouldn't do that. Never. I would then obviously run off to my base to defend it. And there might well be some kind of automated defenses. Maybe it might allow me to telepresence into my base, so that I can defend my base from my spaceship, and I could start flying around. Like I could start flying around skimmers or something like that, attacking Shan and his SRV, who is trying to go off and blow up my pipeline or something. And I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but there is a problem with that, and that problem is
mining salt.
What happens if your base gets attacked? What happens if your base gets attacked at 3 o'clock in the morning, or even worse, it gets attacked while you're in that meeting at 10 a.m. and you get an alert saying your base is you can't defend it all 24/7.
Or it gets attacked.
You can if you get big enough guns on it.
I mean, that's where you have some level of tower defense, but then you could also maybe buy base shields for 1,000 arcs for 5 minutes or something like that. Just to look at certain mobile games which have that kind of horrendous mechanics.
Well,
Paper
in other games,
Don't even put that idea out there, Ben. Just don't.
in other games with a siege mechanic,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's usually the owner of the base. They have to set a window by which someone could attack their base. So, let's say you have to have a 2-hour period each week when your base is vulnerable, and
Mhm.
it's up to you when you set that. So you can say, well, I'm definitely now I can be around at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. So then that's when I'll have my base being vulnerable because I'll now be around to defend it. So that's the sort of mechanic people do to get around let's all gang up at 3 in the morning and get it.
It's been that. What's the law mechanic that you have to have your shields down for a few hours to repair them or something?
Yeah. We want to avoid. Is it Clash of Clans where you build up your castle and then all of a sudden, that's when you'll be in the meeting and you've got to think, "Oh God, I've got to defend my," but you can't because you're in the meeting. You know, these mobile phone games, which you see a lot of adverts for.
Yeah.
And then that's when, of course, when social engineering comes into play. Because if I look at the map and if I know Ben's base is available at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I then pay, I don't know, Colin, Mac, maybe Kaizen or something like that to keep Ben occupied, and then I go and get his base.
I'm sorry, there is not enough money in the world you could pay me in order to keep Ben occupied.
Oh, you do it for free.
Ah, dear. Well, I mean, it's nice to have a discussion about this. We'll probably be coming back to this at a later. But I feel that we're going to have to move on because I have just seen the amount of stuff in Community Corner that we've got left. So yeah, we'll quickly move on to Community Corner. I mean, thanks to everybody who's joined in on this, and thanks to you, chat room. Now, the first item to highlight is that there is a BBC radio documentary called #ThisGameChanged, which revisits Commander Michael Hoyland's story. It's heartbreaking, but it's been sensitively put together by Nathan Jones, and it's hosted Ophia Lockhart and Julia Hardy. It's really worth a listen. It's nice when it's come to it that the Elite Dangerous community has been shown in such a positive. Now, obviously, I've listened to it. Anybody else?
It was brilliant.
Yeah, many onions were consumed.
Any onions consumed? Yeah, it goes into a great deal of detail of poor Michael's condition, and of course how the game helped him get through that condition, and also the fantastic work that was done to Michael into a audio adventure stroke book, which is still available, and I think it's free, but they ask if you make a small donation. So yeah,
I thought it was really nicely put together, and it's the pilot of a whole series as well. So I must listen to the others now because it was good. It was well
Indeed.
Done.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll definitely agree with Ben. Yeah, I'm having to hold it back now, actually. But yes, many onions were cut during listening to that podcast. So, Alec, we've got you on. You've climbed things that shouldn't be.
Don't know why that's in the show notes. I can tell the story behind that if you like.
It's in the show notes because you weren't going to be around until then. Until 5 minutes before the show.
All it was, there is a story to it. So what it was, you've probably heard Kaizen saying that he's giving everyone fleet carriers. It's not quite true. But in the first beta, because I didn't have enough money, we did try to do a player-to-player credit exchange to get me enough money to buy one, and it didn't quite pan out. I ran out of time. So we're going to try it again for beta 2. And so the plan was that I would get my ship full of low-temperature diamonds for the day that the beta snapshot got taken. The only problem then was that I'm at this, I'm in Baran and I've got 200 LTDs in my ship, which I now need, and I now have to sit there until whenever they take the beta snapshot. We don't know what time that's going to be. So I got bored. So I flew down to the planetary base, which I think the griefers go to in Baran to restock their ammo. And then I basically endeavored to get my SRV right on top of the tower that's about 5,000 feet tall or whatever by boosting off the back of my ship. It's a very nice viewpoint, and that's where I'm sat waiting for Beta 2 to drop. So when I log into Beta 2, I should have a very nice view and should be able to surprise a few griefers by leaping onto the back of their ships from a great height.
Now, is there a new buckyball that you guys have got planned? You mentioned that it's inconvenient timed with the beta.
Yes. Yeah, there is. I'll chat about those. I mean, I think you mentioned them on last week's show. We've got 4. So the one that's coming up is Signs of Life, which is going to run from the 9th to the 17th of May. And it's a really fun one. I mean, it's what I've been doing this week, basically. So the idea of the race is you have a fixed period of time, half an hour for the regulation build BBX, and an hour for any ship you like. And in that time, you have to start off at the, the Zende Partners mega ship that's like a shuttle bus service out to where the Guardian stuff is. So you start out there, and you've then got half an hour to scan as many different signs of life as you can, and then get back to the ship again. And it turns out to be really fascinating just in prepping for the race. I spent all week scanning systems with the FSS to find planets that have life, biological sites, and then flying to all the biological sites and visiting them all to see what's there, because all your signs of life need to be different. And what's really interesting in prepping for that is I've loved doing that. Rather than just doing exploration for the sake of it and to earn credits or to occasionally get a first map tag, to actually do it for a purpose, knowing that the end goal is I'm going to have the perfect route to run this race. It completely transforms it. So really enjoyed using the FSS and the DSS to do that. So yeah, that's going to be from the 9th to 17th. And then in June, we have the Engineers Cortez Mixer, which is a bit of a play on ECM and is kind of about ferrying engineers back from a community meet that they've all been to. There's a nice bit of role play on that one. In July, I'm hoping to do one that's kind of going to use a fleet carrier. If I can afford one, I'll borrow one in time. I won't say much more about it because the main point of the race is a little bit of a surprise. And then a really fun one in August called Real Men Race in Lederhosen by Ashnak, and I don't know if this is a thing or not, but it's a Bavarian style race.
It sounds like it should be doing it in October, to be honest.
Well, apparently, actually, I might be wrong. It'll be September. Apparently, it's a classic pub quiz question that when does the Oktoberfest start? It's actually September. So I might have got the date wrong. It might be September. But the idea, this is a fun one, is you have to predict how quick you're going to do the prescribed circuit in. So you predict that it's going to take you 45 minutes and 21 seconds. If you kind of go over, then you get an hour added onto your time effectively. But obviously if you go under, then you get the time you predicted. So it's kind of about trying to do the circuit as close to the time you predicted as possible. It sounds really intriguing. Yeah. So that's our season of races coming up. First one, 9th of May. So when's that? That's this coming Saturday it starts and runs the following Sunday. And all the details are on the forum. You'd probably just Google for Signs of Life or find me and look at my signature or go to buckyballracing.org.uk. That's me.
Right, thanks for that. Obviously, I think we've already touched on beta fleet carrier survey for the anti-Xeno initiative. Does anybody have any further points on? No. Okay. Now this is quite interesting. Well, the Wing Hussar have created a calendar for everybody in Elite. Now it's available from the forums. You can we'll put a link in the show, and you'll be able to go there and download I think it's in Polish and English, a 12-month calendar. So it's almost colander then, for goodness. A 12-month calendar full of fantastic photos taken from various commanders' exploits in. It's free, so I would advise. This gets 2 thumbs up from. No,
Beautiful. I looked at it this afternoon. It's lovely photography, really nice.
yeah. See if Mr. Psycho Cow is available, because I do believe that he wanted to talk about Commander Siren, otherwise Baz Floyd from Special
Commander
Effects.
Sinrain.
Yeah, Kinrain. Yeah.
That's the one.
Sinrain.
Sinrain.
Yeah, he has.
Just a lot of rain.
It's been raining again. He has been running a wee event that he likes to refer to, and I don't like to refer to because it's not what jumps into my head, and I have horrendous difficulties with this one. But it is Baz's Big Banter Bus event that he currently is running, and it is Baz's Big Bubble Banter Bus Grand Tour. That's what he calls it. And what he's doing is there's a whole charitable drive going on at the moment around the number 26, and I cannot remember what the justification is, but he did explain it on Hutton. So for 26 days, from the 26th of April until the 21st of May, he'll be driving his banter bus at 9 p.m. every night. I think it's in the Hutton private group as well, so if you're not a Hutton trucker, you might want to get in touch if you want to be part of it. But basically, at 9 p.m. every night, you rendezvous with him. He's going to be visiting 26 known interesting places in the bubble, or near it, each evening, and inviting every commander in the galaxy to pop in and join him for a wee bit of banter, a wee bit of company, just, to help chase away the cabin fever and such. So if you want to see a asteroid base or a black hole, or maybe the racing station at Cortez, or want to visit Megaship, or see a barnacle forest, a station in low orbit about a planet, singing, circling a ringed Earth lake, or whatever, they are going to be stopping at these various locations. It's kind of like the play bus. Where is it going to stop today? Well, let's ask Baz. Well, today they're stopping at Lave. Now, if you want to join him, he is currently on our Lave Radio Hutton Orbital shared TeamSpeak server, which you can get by getting a TeamSpeak client, connecting to ts.forthemug.com, and look for Baz's Big Bubble Bang. Well, there shouldn't be a bang in that.
It got you.
No, there shouldn't be a bang in that. That's one of our admins is being very naughty. Baz's Big Bubble Bus Grand Tour. And if you go into that room, you'll find Baz, and he'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. So even if you can't join him in game, by all means, go and keep him company. It's quite a full room. In fact, I think Tazzy's in there as well. So I've just seen the number of our regulars are in there having some fun with Baz until the 21st of May. So go and show your support for Baz. He's out there trying to raise money for charities and unusual ways, and it's not a kind of a typical push where you have to donate. He's just looking to give people a bit of company. Not that way, Ben.
It's only gay if you push back.
Oh, I don't believe that. Right, anyway, what we'll do is we'll quickly move on to the community. It's pretty obvious after our main discussion tonight. I mean, what would you like to see in Elite Dangerous base? We'd like to hear from your opinions, and we'll probably discuss it in the future. I think we'll certainly put that out over the social, because it's always good to have a deep. What do you want to see in Elite Dangerous's base building?
Perfect. Thank you.
Why, you're going to have that as your new ringtone?
Well, no. First time round out, you cut off and you just basically said an Elite Dangerous base. So I just wanted to make sure we got the information out for people there, because it was a critical question, and I thought, oh God, what kind of answers are we going to get to that? So I can edit it in.
Yeah.
See, I'll just edit it and it will sound seamless. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, it's all about the bass, the bass, the bass, no treble. Right. Quick call out for shout out. We've got. Well, first off, I'll say congratulations to Chris Master Ski, who posted in Reddit to 3,500 hours in the game. He has just the 1 million light years traveled. I don't know how many light years I've traveled, but that does sound like a. Someone has said, right, he'd be halfway through to the Andromeda Galaxy if he does. But so fair play to him. Millstone Barn has come back with a request for EDS 38 to help them out their home out in Colonia. Earlier this year, a player minor faction ruthlessly stoked Dunker's rest from their owners EDS 38 in their home system. Was that Dubinal? Whilst they were supporting much other needed player activities in the bubble, in other words, Trucker's hot mess, and therefore breached the terms of the Jacques Accord. Biscuit production has been. We appeal to their conscience, seemingly without success. So a small number of Dunkers, together with the Little Massive and other allies, have worked to rectify the situation and have made great progress. However, the Rogues' new Sinbad have today responded, and they face a challenge of writing the run. This is a call for support. Please come to Colonia, ask your friends to rally behind our cause, spread the word, bring your ship, put Dunker's Rest back in the hands of the responsible so that they can restart biscuit production. It will be good for everyone in Colonia, including you, new Sinbad. You. So a plea there for Millstone's Barn. Would also like to remind you that our sister station, Hutton Old, it broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30 GMT. You can tune in at tvforthemug.com, or if you just want the audio, go to radio.com. Also, for the discerning commander who likes a bit of CQC action, check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. Well, we do have a little bit of a little any other business. Psycho Cow, what are you doing this weekend? Is it this weekend or next weekend?
Next weekend. This weekend we're probably just enjoying a pub quiz on Friday night again. I'm running a European Eurovision. We didn't get out of that. We didn't vote for Euritz, which sounds like that would be a lot more fun. Anyway, yeah, Eurovision has been cancelled due to COVID-19, which is a real heartbreak when we could have had some amazing average fun like normal, and as a result there was an awful lot of disappointment, and as I say, there's a few of us that like Eurovision for the international spectacle of nonsense that it is, and it leaves a bit of a hole, and it takes me back to my childhood to I remember my dad replacing the woodwork in the window in my attic bedroom, and then we went down and watched Eurovision, and Terry Wogan was there, and I would have watched it pretty much every year since, and invited people over, not for a kind of proper Euro party, but just to have some fun together and enjoy an evening of nonsense. And it goes on for a long time, and so without it being there, my wife, who really feels the isolation and social, not that we go out anyway, but she's feeling the missing these things that she would enjoy, is taking particular hard toll on her mood, and so she was really upset by Eurovision being cancelled, and she was really looking forward to it, because we spend the whole time, we get some snacks in and just sit back and suffer it to the bitter frickin' end. And so she said, can't we do something different? Can't we do something instead where we can maybe, I don't know, pick a country and we find a video or something for that, or a song for it to represent it. So we took her idea and we refined it, and we created the Your Abysmal Song Contest, which she kindly painted our logo for, so it's now the Your Abysmal Stay-at-Home Contest, Stay-at-Home Song Contest. And there's two ways to take part. Darius Fusion and Commander Simoof have been coding various parts of the website to do different things. Antarius has created a bot that will allow us to do live voting in Twitch chat on the night, so that you can come along and vote for your favourite videos, and you'll have your 12 points, 10 points, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 and so on, that you normally would have as a country, as a nation, and you'll be able to just vote for whatever video's there, and you'll be able to change your votes. So you can edit them, you can delete them, you can remove them, you can re-vote. There's going to be so many things that you can do. But we're going to play all the user-submitted YouTube videos. The other way to get involved is that you can sign in to our website, create an account by going to bit.ly/crapsongs. And what we will do then is you will be assigned a country, and your mission from that point onwards is to find a YouTube video of a song. So there's a couple of conditions. We don't want people just to put in shit and rubbish. There's got to be a bit of a spirit of finding that unique special video that's either really, really clever, really funny, or spectacular. And an awful lot of our guys are finding music that they wouldn't ever normally listen to, and they're getting appreciation for bands from these nations that they would otherwise never have seen. And so there's an awful lot to be gained from that exercise itself, and it can be a lot of fun. And then once you've found that spectacular video that you think may well stand out, you then submit it through the website, we lock it in and approve it just to make sure it's within the spirit of the competition. And then on the night we will play these videos as an entry from that country. You can vote as that country, but as a judge, which means you cannot vote for your country, but you can vote for all the other songs. And at the end of the night we will do the scoring as close to the show's way of doing it as we can, in order to build up tension and to have a bit of a giggle as we go along. And
so nothing for the UK then?
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Currently, if you go to the bit.ly/crapsongs, you will find that the UK is currently... I stand corrected. The UK now does have a representative. Sizzle21p currently has the UK. I am currently representing Hungary, and after... we have a loose rule when you find a video. So, for example, you might have an amazing song that's about that country. There's a justification box for the reason why you feel your video is appropriate to your nation. And we're not going to verify these or go into too much depth. We're going to leave that to the court of public opinion. And if on the night we give your justification reason out as to why you think that video stands, and the entire audience boos you and then chooses not to vote, on your head be it. That's the catch. If they fight, so for example, me being hungry, last night I said to Susie, I found the song, and then I played Jennifer Lawrence singing the Hanging Tree song, and she went, "What's Jennifer Lawrence got to do with the hungry?" And I was like, keep going. You'll be with it. And she just then told me to take a running jump out the room and not to come back, as she realised it's of course from the Hunger Games.
Would be the Hungry Games.
Yeah, the Hungry Games. So so you can be as obtuse or as silly as you like, but what we're really looking for is those kind of videos that will actually lift your spirits, or be moving or be entertaining. We don't just want dilge. It's not about finding any old video to represent it. And you can use previous year's Eurovision songs if you want, or even this year's Eurovision videos. They are mostly, for all the countries that have actually got them in, are up and available for you to look at too, so you can get inspiration as to what Eurovision means. And just get involved. So there are a number of countries still available. If we do have the full sign-up, then there would be 50 videos of 3 minutes plus, potentially, to try and play through on a Saturday night, at which point we will just be brutal and we'll just cut videos down if we need to, if they're crap. So we'll just have to make some entertainment edit decisions. Or I'm thinking about creating an ability when you're watching, for anyone who's watching, to create a skip this one, it's shit.
Can it be also have like tie in the Gong Show or something like that?
Well, kind of,
enough
yeah.
of the audience gongs it.
If enough of the audience,
out.
yeah. So,
wasn't there used to be a TV program where there's a big hook and the viewers voted, and the hook would come along and then it would kind of hook round the artist's neck and pull them out.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, we could go. So we're just trying to create a reason to be online. People will come along. They'll bring their own wee drinks. They'll sit and do what they would do in Eurovision and sit and kind of keep one eye on the telly and have conversations. But I'm hoping it will actually be quite an uplifting experience. A bit of an eye opener for music styles and things. So I'm kind of struggling with Hungary because they've got a very strong folk music, and actually the majority of stuff over there, they're going through a bit of a rap phase. So when I looked at their top 40, I was uninspired, but I found some amazing guitarists and things. So it's an awful lot of fun. Obviously, if you get the UK, then you really want to dig deep and try and get into something obscure and special. But everywhere, it's open to anyone who wants to come along. So just go to the Eurobismal Song Contest by going to bit.ly/crap songs, or turn up twitch.tv/psychocow on the 16th of May from 8 p.m, as we will go play through them, and you can be part of the experience then. And chat will be fricking mental with all the vote commands firing in. So it should be laugh to see if the bot can handle it. Entire Fusion's done an amazing job and can't thank him enough. Galactic Midden's been making promo videos left, right and centre, which you might have seen appearing on Facebook in various places. They're amazing. We're really excited. All the work that people are putting in around here, it's a huge community project again, and it would be nothing without these guys. They've got excited, they've got involved, and they've started putting the efforts in, which are very appreciated, which means I don't have as much to do and I can sit back and just be lazy. Turn up in the night and go, here you go, look, some songs.
So taking all the credit as usual.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll just give a call out to, for those of you who've forgotten, if you head over to the Radio Theatre Workshop website, Chris Jarvis, him of Escape Velocity, he's still been working on the Lost World podcast, or his Lost World audio drama. Okay, folks, last call for any other business, just quickly. No? Very quick call, because running out of time a little. But that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio. Hit us up on facebook.com/laveradio. Tweet us at laveradio. You can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders come to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening, 8:30 British Summer's Time, and streamed out at laveradio.com. So thanks to Alec, thanks to Mac, thanks to Ben, to Shan, and of course to Psycho for being today's extra special tech specialists. But until next time, commanders, fly, and if you can't do it, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this? Sounds like someone having an orange inserted. Need a safe word. Space can be low.
I'm going to see the galaxy.
guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Galnet News Digest, 5th of May 3306. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news, the year of 15 months. Warning as ecotourism hits the Zende megabus. Carry on carrying on. Oh crumbs. The year of 15 months. The Pilots Federation has issued a statement confirming that the long-awaited 3306 update will indeed be delivered on schedule at the end of 3306. As part of the same communication, but in unrelated news, they announced that the year 3306 will be extended by 3 months, and will now end on the 2nd March the 31st of 3306. The year 3307 will therefore start on the 1st of April, unless it's deemed necessary to extend 3306 by a further 2 months, to the 2nd 31st of May 3306. It is widely believed that the 3306 update will include a do-it-yourself construction system known as Home Base Building, and the Age of Silmar Space Legs, which will give commanders permission to leave their pilot seat and walk around, and possibly even partake of a little hand-to-hand combat. Alternatively, commanders may prefer to sit around painting themselves, and never really get around to doing anything much else. In the meantime, any commanders still flying in the galaxy are asked to do so quietly, in order not to wake up their sleeping colleagues. Warning as ecotourism hits the Zende megabus. It's society gone mad. That's the verdict of locals as the Buckyball Racing Club prepares to descend on Sinoof EN-H D11-96, the system at the other end of the megabus route from Zende. The buckyballers want to see a bit of nature, but being buckyballers, they want to do it really, really fast. Brain trees, anemones, metallic crystals and gourd mollusks, they're all grist to the buckyballers' mad race to tick off as many sites as they can. They might even do some Guardian Sentinels and Thargoid Barnacles and Scavengers, if they have time. Almost anything goes during this frenetic sightseeing trip, which runs from the 9th of May to the 17th of May. Except for frameshift drive synthesis, which the buckyballers continue to believe is the devil's work, presumably because they lack the stamina to spend an hour or so gathering the necessary materials for Jumponium. Inhabitants of the affected systems have put in place a shoot-on-sight policy for regulation Diamondback explorers and any other ships suspected of belonging to buckyball racers. They are reported to be looking forward to the day when the megabus takes all those troublesome tourists back to Zende. Carry on, carrying on. The second opportunity to test fly a fleet carrier starts on Monday the 11th of May and will last for 2 weeks. Confusingly, taking part in the beta involves time travelling back to Thursday the 30th of April. This will be the first opportunity for Xbox and PS4 commanders to try out fleet carriers, but all fleet carriers, regardless of what system their owner uses, will be usable by all commanders, subject of course to permission from the owner. In related news, the Coriolis ship design suite has been updated to include the Drake-class fleet carrier by Commander Cohen Leth. The system models accurately the core internals. The optional services such as shipyard, paint shop and universal cartographics, and the crew accommodation. The relatively high cost of running a fleet carrier is finally explained as we see the inclusion of the jacuzzi and spa, the sports hall, the media hub, as well as the observation deck, a glass-roofed terrace, and of course, the golden limpet statue. If you have to ask how much it all costs, get back to mining void opals. In less related news, the Pilots Federation has finally managed to find the missing thumbnail of the Thargoid, accompanying the 13th of January Galnet report of Thargoid incursions in the Witchhead Nebula, and have glued it into place on the launcher. There remains a massive black rectangle in the middle of the launcher that some believe may be the true location of Raxxla. Oh crumbs. The brave colonists known as EDS 38 are reported to have lost their base, Dunker's Rest, which is believed to be somewhere in the WNL system. It is believed that the base may have been stolen from the 38 by a group calling themselves New Simbad, which is based in Far Tauri. Any commanders willing to assist in finding the missing base and returning it to its rightful owners are invited to fly over. When the base is regained, Commander Millstone Barn promises that there will be lashings of soggy rich tea biscuits all round. In only slightly related news, Canon Interstellar announced last week that they would not be jumping the Gnosis to a new system because they liked the white dwarf they were orbiting so much. And by the way, if anyone on board had any experience of fixing megaship hyperdrives, could they please make their way to engineering? Having thus encouraged visiting commanders to take off and fly around the system while they waited, the Gnosis then proceeded to jump on schedule after all, leaving a small knot of confused ships hanging helplessly in space, looking at the place where the Gnosis wasn't. Canon Interstellar has been warned to expect a large claim for compensation. In completely and utterly unrelated news, the Pilots Federation has bowed to pressure from the one commander who actually flies a hauler, Commander Primetime Casual, and has made available a range of Speedway racing colours for that much neglected behemoth of tiny, tiny ships. And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News. And as it's Revenge of the Fifth Day, may the Force be the mass times the acceleration.